Hey y'all, I'm Meredith Myers, the Majestik Lioness, and this is my very first episode of What in the Cornbread Hell. Today we'll be talking about shadow work. These videos are inspired and dedicated to my dad, John G. Myers, a real-life badass hero, cancer survivor. I love you, Dad. I miss you. My dad would always say, "What in the cornbread hell?" Instead of saying shit when we were little. I've picked up both of these phrases, so let's just dive right in. So, I believe that shadow work is inner child work, past life work, self-love work, mending your triggers, I think is a really big one for shadow work. And getting to the root of your pain, why you're upset, why you're angry. And I think this is the main focus for shadow work is feeling your feelings. I think there's so many times where we bottle stuff up or, like something makes us upset, so we'll go and do something that's more numbing or, indulge into the man-made substances of the world instead of just taking a moment, crying, getting angry, and feeling that emotion, and getting to the root of why you're really upset, and a lot of times you'll notice the things you're upset about is really something you haven't healed from your past, so if you take 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I do not promote long periods of shadow work, okay? It's like feel those feelings, okay, cry, get it out healthily, and then move on to something that is healthy, that makes you feel good. That's what I tell my spirit babies all the time. I do an apprenticeship where I have women that choose to do the shadow work first. It's kind of like dealing with your bullshit, healing your triggers, healing your past pains, so you're able to go and heal another. It took me 3 years of shadow work and self-love work before I was able to heal another. So I recommend, dedication, spiritual dedication. Yes, I'm a light worker, but you have to put in the time to do the shadow work and do the mending before you can go and try to guide or heal another, because then you'll have the strength to do so. Let's see what else I have for y'all today. It says, I'm here to teach and preach healing, responsible shadow work. Let us start with the inner child and ego work. So something, I think one of my babies, I think it was baby Tierra, when I was explaining the ego to her, she saw the ego kind of like the angels on your shoulder. You have the like mischievous one, and then you have the one over here that's like, you can do better, right? Well, that's kind of like the ego. The ego has the light aspects and the shadow aspects. The shadow aspects are self-sabotage, fear, anger, sadness, depression, anxiety. Okay, and the light aspects is more like confidence, drive, passion, motivation, inspiration. And you kind of always want to check and see where you're at. That is healthy, responsible shadow work, is checking in with yourself every day, once a day, and like, okay, where's my ego at today? And if it's on the dark side, you kind of, make it go over a little bit to the light, so if you always check where you're at, that'll really help you. So I see my ego or my shadow is kind of like my inner child. So when I have that attitude come up, or, those feelings of being really sad or angry, I always see that as my inner child kind of screaming, and I'm needing to nurture her. So things that I can do to nurture her is really simple things like coloring, painting, playing, being silly. And this is a big one, not taking everything so seriously. As we become adults, I think we tend to put ourselves under so much pressure and stress. We have all these expectations and goals, right? So if you just remind yourself once a day to not take everything so seriously. You know, you are supposed to enjoy this human experience, you know, and life is suffering. But if you can channel into your light and make peace with your shadow, you'll have such a much better experience here. So this is where self-love comes in, making it a priority. Okay, and that's hard for some because, you know, for a lot of us, we love to give to others, but receiving, you know, what's that? That's hard. You know, so if you can make that a priority once a day to practice self-love, you'll feel so much better. Self-love is hard. It's hard to do self-love. And if you struggle with self-love, I recommend taking time once a day to do something that makes you feel good, that is healthy. So if you feel that you are good at self-love, you can do something that makes you feel good, maybe like once a week. The more you focus on it, the better you will be at it. So what are some examples of self-love or ritual? Is taking a bath, taking a longer shower, you know, getting a Reiki appointment, or, you know, going to get a massage. Grooming is self-love, right? Go and get your hair did, your nails done, playing music, journaling, meditation, whatever brings you true joy, that is self-love. Let's see what else I have for y'all. Yeah, it took me a long time to like understand how to receive. It did. I didn't even know what that meant, and that my 3-year journey of like really focusing on my self-love and doing the shadow work, you know, in there really helped me. Now let's move to the ego. So like I told you, you know, it has, you know, you got this like cheerleader angel on your shoulder, and then you've got the mischievous one, you know, so you kind of always have to see where you're at, which one is leading you, right? You got to gauge where your shadow is and learn to love yourself in your shadow, which is really key. So I think a lot of people, it's almost like we're ashamed of being angry or sad. And it's like, no, you got to embrace that. And I think a lot of people don't understand is when you cry, you're opening up your third eye. You know, that's a beautiful way to release. It's the most healthy way to release as a human. So feel those feelings, cry. When you get angry, you know, do some push-ups, right? Do some ab workouts. Get that energy out healthily. Don't be mad at yourself for feeling that way. Like, express those feelings. That is healthy shadow work. Okay, let's see what else I have for you. Yeah, I'm just going to go over what I said. So the light aspects are motivation, confidence, passion, compassion, high self-esteem, and empowerment. And then the shadow aspects of the ego are insecurity, anger, sadness, self-sabotage, fear, negative thinking, being a negative Nancy, low vibrations, and that attitude. You know, you always got to check your attitude. And if you have that attitude going on, get that that intense energy, because some of our attitudes are so much more spicier than others. And take that energy and kind of bring it over to the light and transmute it into like motivation to be better. Okay? But it says when you feel that your shadow is out to play, and I recommend the following. So altar work. So when you feel your shadow, when you feel your attitude coming up, go sit at your altar. Feel those feelings. You know, if you're angry, journal in front of your altar. I like to do push-ups in front of my altar. My newest thing to do for shadow work is I like to play video games. I've never played video games before, but I like that. And I also like to listen to screamo music. Like I said, I don't recommend doing this for long periods of time, but I do recommend doing it until you feel like that energy has lifted. but leave it at your altar. Once you sit at your altar, cry. If you're angry, get that out healthily. Leave it at your altar. Don't carry that shadow aspect with you around all day, because if you do, that's when projection comes to play. You're projecting your ego upon others because you didn't really let it go or heal it. And that's not fair to everybody else, especially the empath babies out there or the sensitives. So you got to make sure to leave it at your altar. Let it go there. Cut, snip, send, light, release. That's healing your shadow responsibly, and then moving on to your day, and not, thinking about it throughout your whole day or projecting it on others. Cutting those cords, mending those pains, and loving yourself exactly as you are in that moment. Yeah, what I put here is like, many see crying as a weakness, and I don't think that at all. I'm someone that I was raised up in the makeup industry, and if you cried, that was a huge sign of weakness, but